Krishnan, that missile barrage hit the port city of Odessa. They took out the electricity, and because of that, that means they have no water or no light there tonight. The town of Zaporizhia was also hit. Apparently, at least 2 people were killed. But here in Kyiv, they did not hit. The air defences were effective. About 10 missiles apparently were aiming here, but were repelled. And that is probably because they have new air defence systems here, the NASAM system, which is a US-Norwegian system. And this is what the Ukrainians say that they need more than anything else at this time. Aerial defence to stop these missiles coming in from the Russians. Now, what happened before that was also very interesting. A few hours before those missile barrages, 2 Russian military airfields were hit. And what the Russians say is that Ukrainian drones hit those airfields with munitions. Now, one of those airfields was 450 miles inside Russia. That's a long way from the front line. It's not at all clear that the Ukrainians have drones that could operate at that distance. But what is clear is that drones are an increasingly important part of this war. And that's something that we discovered when we went to the drone school near Kyiv. The Ukrainians call them ochi, eyes. But in this war, drones are far more than that.
Every war is a war of technologies. And we see it right now on the front line. This war, we call it the war of drones. If every unit have a couple of drones in our army, we will win this war.
We're at drone school just outside Kyiv. A small Chinese consumer drone for spotting the enemy can cost less than £500 on the internet. And once you've mastered it, you can move on to other, more lethal versions. This is an old-fashioned artillery war, but there's also a high-tech arms race going on. Both the Russians and the Ukrainians want as many drones as possible and as modern as they can find, for reconnaissance, for getting coordinates, and increasingly for dropping munitions. Footage from the spring shows a Ukrainian drone dropping a mortar on a Russian position. It's not an expensive, purpose-built military unmanned aerial vehicle, a UAV, but a modified consumer drone, proving equally deadly. Russian social media channels show their drone operators too. They're also repurposing cheap Chinese UAVs. But their most effective strikes have been with swarms of more advanced Iranian kamikaze drones called Shahed 136s. In October, police in Kyiv tried to shoot them down. But like missiles, they damaged both apartment blocks and Ukraine's energy infrastructure. Back in March, as Russian tank columns approached Kyiv, the Ukrainians used Turkish-made armed Bayraktar drones to destroy the front and rear. Both sides are now desperate for more UAVs.
At the very beginning of this war, they have much more drones and much more different types of drones. But now, I think the situation is equal.
With a frontline artillery unit outside Bakhmut in Donetsk, we saw how the commander sees in real time coordinates called in using a drone. They're essential for precision strikes, used more in this war than any previous conflict. The drone school seems a long way from the front line, and it's attracting those who never thought they would one day fight for their country.
I have background IT, finance or marketing. I am a CEO of a pharmaceutical company in Ukraine, but now the situation is changed. I did not want to know what type of artillery we have or Russian have, what is the type of bombs and so on. But we should know, we must know now.
Я менеджер по продажу меблів і проєктувальник. Ось тому вирішила спробувати на своїй землі. Я не хочу, щоб моя донька і діти України через 10 або 20 років боролися за свободу, за свої права жити, тобто і бути в цивілізованому світі.
The war in Ukraine will be decided not just by cruise missiles, heavy artillery and aerial defence, but also by small civilian drones, the type that might be given as a Christmas present, and by the men and women learning to operate them.